Alright guys, this is your warm-up today. So take a few minutes and kind of get this done for me. It should only take you about 3 to 4 minutes to take care of these two. Please push pause while they do this. Alright, on your warm-up, number 1 is in degrees. So make sure your calculator is in degree mode. The first step of solving a trig equation is to get the trig function by itself. So you need to move the 6 over, so minus 6, okay? And then divide by 5 on both sides. You end up with secant of theta equals negative 6 over 5, right? Okay. Well, secant, there's not a button on our calculator for secant, so we need to change that to cosine so we can work with it. Okay, sorry about that. There was an announcement. I believe we were talking about how we can't use secant on the calculator. We have to use cosine. Okay? So when we do that, we have to flip our fraction. So this would be negative 5 over 6. Just like that. Okay? Now, cosine is the x value. Where is the x value negative? It is negative in the second quadrant and in the third quadrant. All right? Which means we're going to have two different angles. We're going to have an angle here and an angle here that we have to find. Okay? Now, to be able to help ourselves, we need to actually figure out the inverse of cosine. That way, we can actually get one of the angles. All right? So whenever you plug in the inverse of cosine of negative 5 over 6, okay, you get, let's see, negative 5 divided by 6, 146.44 degrees. And that would be right here, the red line. 146.44 degrees. All right. Well, that actually poses a little bit of a problem because I need to know what the reference angle is so I can find the other angle. Okay? And the way you do that is you just go 180 minus 146.44 and you get 33.56 degrees. Okay? Well, luckily, since this is a reference angle and down here is also a reference angle, they are the exact same angle. So to find the big angle, the green angle, all I need to do is, since a flat line is 180, all I need to do is add 33.56 to it to find it. Okay? So plus 180, and you get 213.56, just like that. Alright, so that would give me the angle 146.44 degrees and 213.56 degrees. There's your answer. Okay, really fast tangent is negative in the second and fourth quadrants. I need to take the inverse tan to actually find my answer. This is in radians, so make sure your mode is in radians whenever you do this. Otherwise, you'll get the wrong answer. And we just go inverse tan of negative 3.1, and we get negative 1.29. I mean, 26, sorry, 26. Okay? reference angle right here is negative 1.26. I need to know this angle right here, so all I have to do is add 6.28 to it. Okay, and that gives me 5.02. Okay. I also need to know what this angle is right here. Well, this is a reference angle, and I know it is 1.26, so that means that this right here is 1.26. So all I have to do is take 3.14 and subtract 1.26, and I get my other angle, which is 1.88. And there's your 2. 1.88 and 5.02, just like that. Okay, angle of inclination. Before we start, just go ahead and change your calculators back to degrees. Angle of inclination will always be in degrees. We're only working with degrees here. Okay? If an angle measure is on the unit circle, I expect the exact value. Otherwise, a decimal value is acceptable for the angle of inclination. We're going to be doing it in our calculator. Angle of inclination of a line is the positive angle, very important, the positive angle formed by the part of the line above the x-axis, and the x-axis has to be between 0 and 180 degrees, right? Because that's the first two quadrants. It has to be above the x-axis. Okay? Do you guys remember what m actually stands for with a linear function? Remember, a linear function is y equals mx plus b. Okay? M actually represents slope. Well, why do you think tangent also represents slope? It's because tangent is actually y over x, right? Okay. So it's actually going to help us out. Just kind of remember, tan of theta is the same thing as sine over cosine, which is the same thing as y over x, which is the same thing as m, okay? Now, just to make sure everyone kind of understands this, if I had a linear line that looks like this, okay, this right here would be an acute angle. An acute angle. Alright? And if I had a line that was going like this with a negative slope, okay? And kind of think about, you have your axis right there. This would give you a obtuse angle. So in other words, a positive slope creates an acute angle, and a negative slope creates an obtuse angle. Those are things that you need to remember. Also, tangent in the second quadrant will show up as a negative fourth quadrant angle because the inverse of tangent has restrictions, right? Its restrictions are for the first and fourth quadrant, so we have to be careful with this. Number 1, this is how your questions are going to look. Find the angle of inclination of the line 3x plus 5y equals 8. Well, the first thing that you need to find is slope, because tangent is the same thing as slope. And the way you find slope is just by solving for y and looking for where m is. Okay? So I need to move the 3x over. So I have 5y equals negative 3x plus 8. Divide by 5, divide by 5, right? Okay. And you are given y equals negative 3 over 5x plus 8 over 5. This right here is your slope. Okay? So what are we going to be doing with that slope? Well, we are going to be finding the positive angle associated with that negative slope. You can kind of think about a negative slope runs like this, right? It's going down. Okay? We're going to be finding an angle in the second quadrant because we only want the positive angles. Okay? We only want the ones above the x-axis. All right? So this is going to be tan of theta equals negative 3 over 5. I got to take the inverse to find the angle. So inverse of tan, negative 3 over 5 equals, right? And that's going to give you a negative 30.96 degrees. Okay? Remember, negative 30.96 degrees is right here. Okay? So 30.96 is your reference angle. Well, if you remember our last unit, these reference angles actually have the same value. So how can we find the actual angle here? Okay, we just subtract from 180 because the straight line is 180. Okay? And when we do that, we get theta equals 149.04 degrees. Just remember, with angle of inclination, you're looking for a positive angle that's between 0 and 180 degrees. Okay? Number 2, find the angle of inclination with x minus 4y equals 7. So again, solve for y. Okay, and that gives you negative 4y equals negative x plus 7 divided by negative 4. And you're given y equals 1 over 4x plus, oh, that would be minus now, right? So minus 7 over 4. Okay? The slope is what is interesting to us. Okay? This is a positive slope. So your line is going to kind of look like that in a positive direction. Tan of theta equals 1 over 4. So that means the inverse of tan is what we're going to be using to find our angle. Okay? When we plug that in, we get 14.04 degrees. And hey, we don't even have to do anything to that. It's actually already there for us. So theta equals 14.04 degrees. That's our answer. Okay, number 3. Find the equation of the line with the inclination of 158 degrees. 158 degrees is not on the unit circle, so we're going to have to use our calculator. And containing the point negative 3, 5. Okay? So, and containing the point negative 3, 5. So all we need need to do is find slope first, because tan of theta equals the slope, right? So tan of 158 degrees equals m. Okay, when you plug that into your calculator, you get m equals negative 0.4. Okay? Alright. Now, if you remember a format called point slope form, okay, your format looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay? This is the format that we're going to be putting this in because it's the easiest one to actually write down. Alright? So let's just kind of fill in the blanks. Y minus, okay, I'm going to get my y value out of my point, so 5 equals, okay, I have my m, negative 0.4 times x, and then I'm going to get my x value out of there, which is a negative 3, so it's going to be a plus 3. And then that's my answer. You do not have to actually solve it all the way out for slope-intercept form. You just leave it just like that. Okay. Number 4. Let's do another one. Just make sure everyone's okay. Find the angle of inclination and equation of the line containing the points negative 1, 2, and 4, 1. Well, they're not actually giving us the slope, right, on this problem. So we're going to have to find the slope. Now remember, slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So when we plug in, we're going to say 4 minus, not 4, 1 minus 2 over 4 plus 1, right? Which ends up being, okay, this is m, by the way. What does that end up being? Negative 1 over 5. Okay, so there's a slope. So I'm going to be using tangent again. So tan of theta equals negative 1 over 5. I'm looking for the angle of inclination here. I'm looking for the angle. First off. Alright. Take the inverse, so tan inverse of negative 1 over 5. Okay. And that's going to give me what? Let's see. Inverse tangent of negative 1 divided by 5. That gives you negative 11.31, right? You kind of make our line. Okay, we have a negative slope, so it looks like that. We're given the negative 11.31 degrees. Okay, and then all you have to do is subtract 180, because remember this reference angle is also 11.31 degrees. Okay, so theta actually equals 168.69 degrees. Okay, so then all we have to do is find the line. Now it doesn't matter which point you choose. You can choose either one. I always choose the easier of the two. I noticed that 4, 1 does not have any negatives in it, so I'm going to use that one. So my equation is just going to be y minus 1 equals my slope, so 1 over 5 times x minus 4. Okay, and then theta is 168.69 degrees. inclination, and equations, okay, of the line that is parallel. Remember, parallel just means it has the same slope to this line, and it is containing the point 3, -1. So the first thing I need to do is find the slope of this line. So I'm going to move my 2x over. 3y equals -2x minus 6, divide by 3, divide by 3. Okay, and your slope is -2/3. Remember, negative slopes make this line right here negative slope, right? Okay, so your angle of inclination is going to be this angle right here. To find that angle, I need to take tangent of theta, which equals -2/3. Use the inverse. Okay? And the inverse actually will give you your answer. It's going to give you 146.31 degrees. Okay? That's your theta. So all I need to do is make my equation now. So that's going to be y plus 1 equals my slope, which was -2/3, times x minus 3. Okay? And theta is 146.31 degrees. So there's your answer. Sorry, I kind of typed with space there. Okay, number 6. This is probably the harder of the two, and it's because instead of using parallel lines, I'm going to use perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular is a reciprocal of your slope and a change of signs. Okay? Well, the first thing you want to do is actually find the slope of this line. So move the 4x over again. 3y equals -4x plus 12. Okay, divide by 3, divide by 3. Here's your slope of the line. That's m. Okay, find the perpendicular. I just need to flip it over and change the sign. So there's our new slope. Alright? That's a positive slope. So I'm looking at this line right here. Positive slope. That means your angle of inclination is right there. Okay? So just take the inverse of tangent again. And it's going to come out to be 36.87 degrees, and that happens to be the angle that we're looking for, so we don't have to do any kind of extra math to get our answer. So there we go. Alright, now all we have to do is find the equation, and again, just use the point that's given. So it's going to be y minus 2 equals the slope, 3/4. Okay? And then it would be x minus 0, but that's kind of an understood thing, so we don't have to write it. So there is our equation, and our theta is 36.87 degrees. Okay? So now to that. Number 7, last one. Okay. Find the equation of the line with the inclination of 120 degrees and containing the point 2, 3. Well, first thing I recognize, 120 degrees. Okay, that's on the unit circle, so I'm going to have to use exact values here. Okay? So, tan of 120 degrees equals m. Okay? Tan of 120 degrees is what? Negative square root of 3. Okay? I'm given the point. I already have the slope. All it's wanting to find is the equation, so I have everything I need. So this is just going to be y minus 3 equals negative square root of 3 8 times x minus 2. Alright? And that is all there is to it, guys. You're going to have a practice worksheet handed out to you at this time.